Instead of arrows,
it's not like you don't care, you just don't care much. All right, here's 218. So Rome is right here, right on the Tiber River. That's Rome. So by 218, that's big. Now let's give an idea about the size of Rome. Here's 218. Look about 100. 44 BC. I mean, that's just 56 years. And look how much bigger it's gotten. And that's the end.
and it all goes downhill.
And that's the last year of the Roman Empire. Well, and the Byzantines. And the Byzantines would last till 1453. So the Roman Empire, basically, Rome would go from about 800 BCE all the way to 1453 AD. There'd be Rome, a Roman Empire. Okay, that last few hundred years of the Byzantine Empire around Constantinople was basically Constantinople, but still, it was there. Today, Constantinople is Istanbul. And here is, at the greatest extent of the Roman Empire, almost. They would get up into here. Expansion for the sake of expansion. If you're constantly needing gold, you constantly have to expand the empire to find more gold. This is what all imperial countries did. Yes, Britain would go into the Roman Empire here and then up to here. They tried to conquer this. It would not go well. I'll tell you the story of what? Here or here? Britannia, yeah, the British. Yeah. So here's Rome. This is Rome right here. So let's get, one more thing. What? No, don't take off your shoes. You can do this at home. But you can tell where you're at by your. Anybody know what they are? Some of it, the Celtics are giving us an obscene gesture. Here, yeah. Yeah, mine's round. You've ever agreed? Yeah, just round, yeah. Okay, so let's jump right here. Here's where Rome is. And what made it so powerful, being in the central Mediterranean Sea. Right in the central Mediterranean, they were able to exert influence on both sides. One thing about Greece being a little more in the eastern, it was harder to get here. They had influence on both sides. And there's a lot of raw materials. There's iron, there's copper, and then you think about those mountainsides are perfect for olives and the really high value one, grapes for wine. But also everything from fishing to agriculture, being right in the center. And Rome is off the coast, and it's on 7 hills. And so these hills give it a layer of protection. And so unlike other cities that are right on the coast, it was a little bit harder to raid. Ostia would be the harbor city, but it was far from home, a little bit like the Athenic Athens had. And almost forgot, just right up here, not far, the timber. It's tall, straight pine, perfect for boats, buildings, you name it. And of course, that's going to have major rivalries with other Mediterranean powers, Greece, but the biggie would be Carthage, the Venetian city. And Rome is right in the center of the peninsula. And one big advantage it has is the Apennines Mountains right here. It's like a long spine down the center of Italy. And this protected it from attack from the other side of the mountain, so it basically gave them shield on their east, so Rome could be right here. And gave Rome a central position to make it easier for them to unify. Gave right in the center so they can expand both ways and then across the mountains to unify the peninsula. Now, that's what it was for Rome. When Italy would become a country, they'd be unified up here. And so with that, I thought this was kind of a cool map. So we got the Tiber River, which right here is the Tiber River, and there are 7 hills. We've got the Alps to the north, sea, mountains, and Italy doesn't have any really good harbors on the eastern side. So that really makes it easy to defend. Easy to defend. Because there's really poor harbors. And if you go here, Rome, these hills, they've been flattened throughout the years, and they pile the rubble up, but you can still noticeable the hill. Noticeable the hill, like the Palatine Hill, or now Palatine, that's where the Augustus's big temple is, and it's pretty magnificent. I'll show you some pictures of Rome. So let's get to the origin. Shall we do the myth first? Let us do the myth. Rome is pretty amazing. Part about going to Rome is it is a massive city. You have to deal with all the great sites, but you're going to deal with people everywhere. It's bigger than Hellenic.
No way.
Yeah.
We're on that hill.
And if you want to, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, Mount Helena, that's a mountain.
So, 753 BCE, there are twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. Romulus and Remus. Gee, I wonder where the name Rome is going to come from. Yes, the Latin for twin brothers. I made that up. No, it's obviously Romulus. But supposedly, they were heirs to the throne of a little Latin kingdom that is around the city of Rome. And they were ordered to be taken away and held by their ankles and drowned in the Tiber River. So basically dumped in. But the servants lost their nerve, decided not to kill them, and left them to die in an open field. I know what's better, huh? Well, there they were found, and this statue shows it, and they always say they were found by a female wolf, a she-wolf. Now, this is probably a translation error, and then it became part of the myth. He was raised by a wolf, and therefore half wild, and all this stuff. A she-wolf is probably a prostitute. It's probably Latin for a prostitute. So a woman who felt had no choice to survive yet fit to do that. And so that's probably what happened. And so you can imagine they grew up with one thing in mind: revenge. And they would march on Rome and kill their uncle. And take over. But now we have 2 brothers. Who will take over? Romulus then backstabbed his brother and killed him. Thus the name Rome, not Rome. And that's where Rome comes from. Or is it? Is that what happened? Romulus was a king. That's all we know for sure. There was a king Romulus. They did start an empire, but almost certainly they were raised by actual wolves. Almost certainly. And they lived in trees, because back then Italian wolves, as we all know, can climb trees, right? And that's a matter of simple physics. So, with that, what we're talking about is the people that are going to be called the Latins. So if the language would be Latin, our alphabet is the Latin alphabet. The alphabet in the United States, it comes from Latin. And it's a kind of a hodgepodge of the original people came, they're going to be dubbed Latins, but there's also going to be a big Greek influence, and then this influence of these people we're not sure about called the Etruscans. A significant amount of things came from the Etruscans. All we know for sure is that Rome would conquer them and steal almost everything from them. And somewhere around 12,000 BCE, Rome would be created, and this we get the term of the Latian kingdom, or the Latins. So Latins were the Romans. And so when we get to, remember I mentioned the Byzantine Empire, which is going to be Constantinople, which will be right all the way over here. This is what sometimes you see it called the Latin kingdom. Even though they all spoke Greek. Don't bog yourself down.
What about there?
Huh?
What right there?
Huh? Yeah, and then of course, lots of Latin kingdoms in what is now Nebraska. And little villages around there of Latium, they formed a league for protection against very aggressive enemies. Since Rome was the biggest, not because it was the best trading city, but it was the best or easiest to defend. So it's very practical. You know, Rome was isolated, but therefore defensible, and that's why it became a leading city. And up north, just north, were the Etruscans. And the Etruscans were their biggest rival. When does this bell ring? Oh no.
54.
54. So I'm going to go. So we'll go, yeah. So I'll give you about 10, 12 minutes to work on the map. This is supposedly Romulus being led away to die. So, what do we know about the Etruscans? The origins have been lost, which is pretty amazing because there appears to be remnants of language. They clearly have a Greek influence. They migrated about the same time. So they very well could have been colonizers. Colonizers are settlers. Let's be clear about it. You were talking about colonizers, I just kind of mentioned it with the Greek and the Phoenicians. They came in and took the land of the people who lived there. So that's what settlers do. They come in and they take. You know, and the United States was a settler colonized country too. So they very well could have been Greeks. There might be a Phoenician influence. We just don't know. But some of their art, like here's an Etruscan vase, and it looks very Mycenaean. And so there's a belief that maybe they fled the Dark Ages after the Byzantine Empire collapsed, after the Trojan Wars. They got the heck out of there, and they went to the Etruscan Empire, or the Etruscans. And that will lead to a story about the founding of Rome, or the founding of... Assassin. Are you done? Okay, so there's a myth that both the Etruscans and Romans might have been those who fled Troy after Troy fell. That's what it might be, the myth there. And we'll come back to that idea. Remember Poseidon and the Trojan Wars, etc. So Morgan, I did give you the math, but now I'm going to put the math away. So they're north of Rome, and this region north of Rome, this beautiful part of Italy called Tuscany, and it's known for it's got the low mountains and then the Apennines right here, and these beautiful vineyards. It's called Tuscany, and Tuscany comes from Etruscan. And it's hard to find a place in Tuscany, but if you go, it's a really nice place. Been to Tuscany? Huh? Yeah. It's, gosh. Once again, that's another bus trip, right? And when we get to Tuscany, when we get back in the Renaissance, talk about Siena, I'll show you my pictures of me being scared to death on top of a big tower. But I did it. I went up there. So they were always this enemy of the Romans, fighting for land, you can imagine what they're going to be fighting for. The best vineyards, the allies for trade, limited amount of arable land, always fighting for it. And a lot of the things that the Romans are going to do, everything from gladiator games to the design of the arenas, much of the architecture, all of this, I think I typed this down, all of this came from the Etruscans. So, one of the biggies, and we'll get to art and architecture, I wonder if there's going to be an engineering and empire program.
Let's go.
Spoiler.
Spoil alert. But, really elaborate drainage system, and that's one of the great things about going to a place like Pompeii, because when they excavated that, all the old drainage is there because it wouldn't be built over by medieval and et cetera. It's all there. You can see there really incredible drainage, sewer system, underground sewers that we flushed into the water. Don't bog yourself down with the details of that. Just go with me on that. And they had pipes. The Etruscans used pipes for water. So they had running water to their homes. Now there was a problem with the pipes, and the Romans used the same pipes. What is the problem with the pipes?
Lead.
They're lead. No, they did not know about lead.
Extra flavor.
Yeah, it adds a little bit of insanity to your life. And this is why a lot of people think they're Greek, the phalanx. The Etruscans did the phalanx. The Romans adopted the phalanx at first, and then they realized the limitations of it. What's the limitation of the phalanx? You're all great going forward, but what happens if they attack this way?
Oh, man.
So they used a much more flexible system called the mandibles. And this would overwhelm the Macedons would actually fall. Yeah.
Is there like occurrences of like two sides using the phalanx on each other?
Oh, sure.
Walk into each other?
Yeah, Greek, yeah. Yeah.
And like they like didn't think about like any like other possibilities. Like they just walked into each other.
Well, what they would hope is, you have your line here and your line here. You hope your line was bigger and overlapping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was pretty simple. And it could be much more complex than that because it'd be so hard to control.
But then the Persians started to do that, but they were too thin, so they got ran through.
Yeah, and they didn't have them. And the Persians kept spreading out and they found the Romans. Now the Romans would have a different tactic. They would use a much more flexible tactic. I'll tell you how they dealt with elephants too. So, a few of the others living in Italy. There are lots of Greek colonists there. And so the Greeks here in eastern Sicily, the foot, a little bit on both the heel and the toe of Italy. And here's where the Etruscans were, probably, but we don't know for certain. Carthage had colonists too. These are Phoenicians. And they would be Carthage, Carthage, Carthage. But once again, don't forget, they come in, they conquer, they take the land. You know, this is not, hey, we're colonizing empty land. No, there are people who live there. And they would run them off or enslave them. And then up from the Celts and the Gauls, from this region here, swept in from what is now like Austria, Switzerland, and France into northern Italy. So this is going to be the Po rivers right here. This area will always be considered very wild, open area, but also lots of resources, like trees. We haven't got to the Illyrians, and then don't forget there is Greek kingdoms right here, Macedon, etc. Macedon. So, with that, let's get to the 7 kings of Rome. So the 7 kings, no, we don't need to know them all. I just put this list up there. There are a couple you need to know. And about 600, the king of Rome will be Etruscan. And about 509, they'll get rid of all. The king will be gotten rid of. And let's get to how we got to that. Here are some coins. There's not a coin for Romulus, so we have the she-wolf. And then Romulus was king, so he probably almost certainly had somebody make up a neat little story about how he became king. He was a kind of a thug, but then again, what are kings? And kings are thugs, you know, for the most part. Might be charming thugs. So let's get to Romulus. Romulus was king for a very long time. And part of his aura is going to come from this horrifically awful way they populated Rome. So, in Rome, the legend is, now once again, we only have legends, and I'll get to a little bit down the road why we only have legends, but it involves Gauls and fire. But, supposedly, there were only men in Rome. We're not going to go through the logistics of this. This is not the class for that. If you want to know more, go talk to your health teacher. But supposedly in a tribe or very nearby called Sabine, as I call it, right here. Where the Sabines were, supposedly, lots of men and women. So Romulus challenged them to basically a game, like the Olympic Games. And while the Sabines went to get ready for the games and prepare, the Romans snuck into the town and kidnapped all the women. Brought them back to Rome, and that's how they populated Rome. This will be known through history as this painting is called, okay, by the way, I should add, they're dressed in more Spartan stuff. Don't get yourself bogged down. It was made in 1700, the rape of the Sabine women. So they basically, supposedly, just stole women. Now, probably what happened was, this kind of kidnapping happened all the time. So probably something like this, and it turned into this big kind of horrific legend to show how tough the Romans are, aka horrible. Roman history is great. They're pretty, yeah. Now, we don't know what happened to Romulus. He died mysteriously, probably killed or poisoned because he was Romulus. But he was replaced with Numa Populus, who supposedly he got his power and worshiped these woodland nymphs, who they would go out and search for them, and various weird things they would do with them. Now, why do we care about that? This would be the first stage of the rituals that would transfer to the Roman gods that were directly copied from Etruscan gods, who were Greek gods. Who what? Yeah. Zoroastrian kind of combined there a little bit off of it, yeah. So with that, we don't know, we'll skip a couple gods, thank you. Well done. Oh, thank you for getting the dust.
That's the Valley of the Gods, right?
Huh?
That's the Valley of the Gods, right?
The Valley of the Gods. So, who can find, as I find Waldo, who can find the woodland nymphs?
They're very clearly in this image.
Obviously, they're right now.
I'm not in a mess, it would be kind of cool if it were. So speaking of that, before we get started, let me tell you one more thing real quick. I was reading something about Ireland, because Ireland it's green, but it's also really cool. But something like 40% of all Irish adults believe in leprechauns, and they claim they believe it.
Wait, leprechauns aren't real?
What do you mean?
No, I didn't never once imply they weren't real.
Yeah.
Of course they're real.
Maybe the experts, 40% of people believe they've been like visited by aliens in the U.S.
Yeah. I think some of you might be aliens.
Irish would be the experts about leprechauns. So.
Valid point. And have you tried Lucky Charms? Sarah, you can't tell me that's a coincidence. So with that, but the king we have to get to is Tarquin. And Tarquin might be one of the most important because he was from Etrusca and his wife was Latin. And so he was an Etruscan king. And so this was a moment where it looked like the Latins were going to be taken over by the Etruscans. And you notice he was king for a very long time. Now they did have kind of what we would call a constitution down the road, but these were Etruscan kings. And they were brought the symbol for Rome of the eagle. And you will see this then as a Roman signal. That's a signal, symbol down the road. By the way, that's a Latin painting of Tarquin being killed. He was assassinated by those worried that it's going to become too Etruscan. And so here's the bloody assassination, or the fight around him being killed. Yes, it's done in a Renaissance art, so it doesn't really make sense to 600. So, then we get the last thing here. While that is going on, we're getting right to the creation of the Roman Republic. Roman society, and much of what Roman society is going to be over the next, at least their idealized version, over the next 1,000 years, will come about in this era. What it meant to be Roman. And this is what they would spread all over the Mediterranean world and up as far as Scotland. They did cross over to Ireland and thought those people were crazy. I mean, leprechauns. But the whole idea of self-discipline, self-control, control over yourself, but not only that, control over your people, family, children must be kept under control. And authority is key. And therefore, there is a hierarchy. There are certain people that are supposed to be on top. And then it goes down to the bottom. Next. Click, click, click. So, this really big emphasis on what it means to be a man. And the term they would use is gravitas. So something gravitas would be more like this statue. Today, it's like your opinion, the way you carry yourself or hold yourself. Then it really meant like what it meant to be a man. Self-discipline, control, tough, hard fighting, brutal when necessary. Now, to our point of view, they'd be basically animals. But to them, that meant, but that was the goal that men were supposed to be. Did they reach this? Of course not. They're all over the place, like every society. And very serious people, sober, thoughtful. Now, sober does not just mean temperance from alcohol, even though, yes, they drink a lot of wine and beer. But the point is sober as in sober in thought. So they're not going to be flighty. Were they like this? Hardly at all. Remember, we're talking about what the idealized goal. This is what you're supposed to be. And it's a patriarchy. A patriarchy is men, fatherly, man on top. The man provides the discipline. The man provides the authority. And so it's very common sometimes if the family, especially the first kid was not a boy, the first child, they take the female out and expose her to the economy, to the young girl. So murder their child if it's not a boy. Cool. It comes from history that Spartans did this. Spartans didn't do that. But Romans would claim they did, so Romans could justify what they did. Did they do it a lot? No. But the point is, it was like, oh, your first child's a girl. Which tells you a lot about the way women were treated that. You see a similar thing in lots of different, And lastly, they're supposed to hate luxury. That's where they put this idea of leading Spartan lifestyle. Did Romans hate luxury in real life? No! Incredible luxury. But they wanted to act like they did. Okay, on that note, we will quit and let me give you your map. Put one on. So I should have the test graded and then. Think we get down on Wednesday? Oh. Yeah.
Not for the same reason.
Where are you gonna?
I'm driving the circle.
You're driving a circle?
Yeah.
Watch out for the grays.
Yeah. Watch for those miles city folks. Alex goes Sicily.
That's how you guys want the gray people?
It's there. I don't think I ever did.
I know where it is.
Imagine that it's just like the Romans.
It's the soccer mall.
Oh, hey, you can do this. What's your name?
Teamwork.
Oh, it stinks like a Great.
Yeah. Everyone in circles gray.
Egypt.
Your dad's lucky to get out.
Listen.
No, man. Get in there. Spain love me.
Where's the juice?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll give you time to work. Give time to work. Huh? Oh, not that long. 8 minutes. Better not. I'll give you a little time to work on this tomorrow too, and it's going to, yeah, 54. And this will be due on Wednesday.
What are we doing on special topics on that?
Oh,
Right.
yeah, short period.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
And we're presenting to next week, right?
Huh?
Or are we presenting next week?
Yeah, we got to figure out the days. Yeah. Oh, you know, so I went down the Mediterranean Sea. It didn't even dawn on me when I made that. The Mediterranean Sea is labeled. So what you have to do is you have to. No, you don't have to relabel the Mediterranean Sea. It's already labeled. Yeah, just circle.
He's a good source. He is a good source of conspiracy. Alex Jones. He hit like half of our topics on our list.
Alex Jones is a major conspiracy guy. Conspiracies sell. I mean, Americans love conspiracies. I mean, I don't have any doubt. President Trump is the Trump without.
Yeah.
Like,
the secret society one.
Prove it. Oh, it says lines.
I don't think.
Lines are, that's what the Romans called their walls.
Oh.
Their walls and fortifications are called lines.
Oh, so that's like the Alps.
No, nothing about, no, they made walls. They made
Yeah. Just like.
What do we say?
Tyler, you know that?
No. Okay.
Just say.
Yeah, someone would be.
I was really right on the edge of Egypt, right? On the coast.
We're going to the library.
Oh, most.
Oh, I'm way off.
Where's Alexander?
Egypt is not right here.
Where is it?
It's right here.
Right.
Oh.
And then you can see the Nile.
Where's the nine? Oh, this right here.
And somebody looked at Little Fort in the Delta.
It's like my friend.
And Alexandria is like right here.
Oh.
And then Egypt is like all right down here.
I don't know that can see.
I mean,
Do we have to do the Nile? No, we don't. That's the one by.
yeah.
Remember the Maine and the hell of Spain. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be a big
That's the one down here.
Living in the city.
Yeah. I assume you Persia.
And I'll give you time tomorrow to work on this also. Beautiful cartridge.
So you're what? Byzantine Empire.
Not too that. There's a town called before it became Constantinople.
Okay.
It was Byzantine.
And it's the city changes names right now.
Yeah. Istanbul literally just means like that city.
So it should be changed to Constantinople instead of
And then they'll
London is.
London. That was the original name, London. If you go there, there's still a lot of Roman ruins in London. Once again, if we're going on the way to Tuscany, we'll stop in London. Not good to me. You're a tour guide. You have to organize the bus.
No.
Where's the area?
Is it the APIC or is it?
Should say C.
It just
Just
says.
the Adriatic.
Adriatic.
Sea.
Okay.
Adriatic.
Yeah. And then it's-
Oh, and it has the lines for the empire. It doesn't have to be perfect, just an idea of how big they were.
Are these this little white thing? Is that
Cyprus.
oh,
I know it sounds like I said lines. They're well, it doesn't. That too.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm not sure how they got the name line.
And of course,
Beautiful Corsica.
Still can't breathe.
It's like, yeah, get stuck.
which is,
Oh, it's so, it hurts so bad.
is it the
They believe you're gonna die in the last
Every time I do it, I'm like, how do I get trust? It's like, last time. It's just like those first times, like, obviously, when you do something specific.
I always do it, and I said there. Actually, I think it's when you don't speak until you actually get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
still.
Makes me mad.
There was no Italy when Brent started though, so.
Read it out at 54.
All right, then make sure you have your maps tomorrow, and I'll see you then. What? Very good, very good.
These four. Yeah, you're bad.
Are these due tomorrow or Wednesday?
Wednesday. So I'll give you like 10 minutes, either beginning or ending.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you time tomorrow to work on the maps.
You're gonna hassle him about that.
That way go around and help and.
I'll see you on the links tonight, Calvin.
Yes, sir. We can play very competitive, video game golf against each other.
Oh. That's good. You don't practice and I don't need much time to golf. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can play virtual golf.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the library again. Now listen very carefully. I want no one in the back row, so I want everyone to sit as close up to that front as possible, as far away from the entrance as possible. If they don't sit there, who will pay?
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna get,
Tyler's got payment.
so move up to close to the front as possible.
No, it's you, Kim.
Now leave my presence.
Whoa, that's a.
Nobody in the library. The library.
Library. Yeah. My birthplace.
Library. Up to the front. Go, go, go.
Hell's gonna leave.
Angels? Who are the angels?
I hardly know who the Rangers are.
Yeah.